It all began with a quarantine and a dream, a camera, 51 costume changes, and 4 identical brothers trying to make the world a better place.
Nah, just a musician without a gig wanting to make a funny movie. When the virus hit and the quarantine was initiated, I was like all musicians, didn't have a gig. So I was going to turn to the internet for my creative release. But unfortunately, this guy had other plans. I lacerated my left index finger and I needed to have 4 stitches. Now luckily, I didn't cut it off, which easily could have happened apparently. But I did have the stitches and it was immobile. They were in there for 2 weeks and then another 2 weeks of healing, and then it was good to go. But I would have missed a month of my quarantine jamming time, right? So there were no couch concerts or sofa shows for me. So to stay creative, I decided, well, I'll make video. I started small with the Joyride. Here's a clip. That was cool. I also wanted to develop the Triple Rick concept and take it to video, live action. On tour with Riverbend Reunion, our drummer, Brandon Buck, would take his iPhone on the panoramic setting and he would go slowly across the scene, making a nice little slow arc. And I would stand in the scene, I'd run behind him, and I'd just insert myself into a picture. And we would post those from various locations that we'd find ourselves in. They were lots of fun. Here, take a look at a behind the scenes of a Triple Rick in the making. Oh right, that's the sounds of Riverbend Reunion in Colorado Mama. There's the photograph, the iconic Triple Rick in the cornfield. And this is how we did it. There's Brandon on the camera. I'm posing for the first picture. I'm out of frame now, and I can run past him. Set up for my second Rick. Hold still. And he passes me. I run around. You gotta be careful to be still, because that's how you end up with Triple Ricks with missing arms and legs. I pose for the 3rd time, and there's the finished product. And that's how it's done. That's the magic. Here we go. Here's a really iconic one from Red Rocks on stage. It's a beautiful photograph. And that's how it's done. So I said, well, geez, I gotta be able to do that on video. So I decided to make the table reading, which was the birth of the Quad Rick Players. Here, take a peek. I got George. I'll do a lane. I'll play the part. That's okay, it's not a very big part. That's what she said. Really, guys? That's where we're at? I'll be Kramer. That was cool, but it was one static scene, and I could easily operate my little character in one section of the screen without any difficulty. But I wanted to take it to the next level. I wanted more scenes. I wanted different shots. I wanted inserts. I wanted a story. So that was the birth of Hide and Seek, a 9-minute featurette featuring the Quad Rick Players and special guests, all played by me. It posed to be quite a challenging exercise, but it was quarantine, had plenty of time, and it was a lot of fun. Let's take a look at how it was done. Here's Rick with a little bit of an explanation on how the script and the storyboard came together. Take it away, Rick. Thank you, Rick. Yes, the process was quite involved. We had the concept, now we had to bring it to life. First step was come up with a storyboard, and we have that right here. Without the storyboard, this movie may have been impossible to make. Each one of those squares represents a scene. In that scene, there are 4 or 5 versions of that scene that are shot with me in a different area of the frame that are later put together in a computer and composited together, since I'm playing all the characters that are interacting with myself, basically. So this roadmap was essential, and this was a well-worn document that I carried around with me throughout the entire process. It took about 3 or 4 days to get it completed, but once it was done, it was worth it. And the script couldn't have been written without it, or the movie shot for that matter. Now we have a storyboard. Now we need to fill in the blanks with a script. The writing of the script was fairly easy, but once the dialogue was composed and the direction was established, I needed to get the timing. Since all the characters that would be acting in this movie are not physically on set at the same time, it was critical that timing was accurate. So in order to do that, I would read the script into the computer, each part one at a time, and then I would mix it and arrange it so it would make sense and have a good tempo. Once we had the dialogue all recorded, the timing was easy to notate from the computer. And I transferred those timing marks to the script, as you can see here. Now I know what I'm going to say and when I'm going to say it. Now we need to figure out where I'm going to say it. So we went into location scouting, which was in the woods. And I would take photographs of potential spots for the movie. These red lines indicate cells where I could safely act. Here's R1, R2, R2, R3, R4. R1 is right here between the trees. And this is a neat one. This is the original location set up for the Crazy 8 scene when all 8 Ricks are in the same shot. And eventually on shooting I reversed it, but 4 Ricks on the bottom, the square is cropped, this whole side is open, so number 8 Rick jumps down and can jump and enter the scene below. The other 3 are up top, so I crop it here. So 4 Ricks, and I got 1 Rick, 1 Rick, 1 Rick, and then a mobile Rick here. So there's 8 Ricks interacting with each other. Now we had a storyboard, a script with timing, and we knew where we were going to shoot it. Now we had to go shoot it. Let's go over to Rick and see how that's done. Welcome to one of the main stages here on the shoot, and it's actually this one. So, as we described before, how we split the screen and composite it, we know that this area is safe, this area is a safe zone, that area, and then of course you can see right between the trees there. Well, so essentially I would be over here acting, and we change clothes, reset. I crouch down, shoot the scene, cut, change clothes, set, shoot, cut. Then I have 3 independent shots with a non-moving background that I can composite in the computer. And that's how the 3 of the Ricks appear. Now the 4th Rick, I'm going to show you, he's way downfield there. And I took a string from the tripod, boom, and I drew a line. See how that all works. So as long as everybody works in their area, you can pretty much do anything you want. Okay, we're at the same stage that we just previously watched, but from a different angle, and several of these shots took place here. I'm going to go and give you an idea how I set up the blocking to film the shot. These pieces of wood have a number, and each number corresponds with one of the Ricks. So, Rick number 1, he's going to stand right here. Rick number 4, he's going to live over here. Rick number 2. And finally, Rick 3. So I would come and I would check the camera, and I would say, I can move it, let's see. I would just lightly
tilt it, and I say, boom, there you go. So I would move the wood, put a pine cone or a little pebble or something that would blend in with the scene, but I knew exactly where to stand. But for the example of this anatomy lesson of a shot, I'm going to leave the wood there and stand on top, and we'll see the final result. In addition to the blocking, I'm going to show you how the stopwatch works with the lines. So at 5 seconds, I'm going to say something, and then we'll show you how the scene looks in its final edited form. Here we go. Ready? I'm going to run to each block. And that's how the sausage is made. 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 Okay, let's see that. Okay, so now we're going to take the shot you just saw, literally 3 seconds ago, where I went to all the blocking stations, and I've taken it into the computer. It was one shot, so I copied it 4 times. Normally I would shoot one shot for one character because I'd have to change clothes and all that, and I don't want the camera rolling the whole time. So I'd have independent files. But I essentially created that by copying it. And I've lined up, and so then once I copy it, I cut it. I split the clip. So the Rick in the 1 position, and the 2 position, and the 3 position, they're all on independent tracks. And once I have that, I line them up. You can see these larger kind of bumpy dots. That's the actually audio file of me saying the sausage is made. I play it real quick. That's how the sausage is made. You can hear I'm saying it all together. But the problem is we don't see that because that's how the sausage is made. The track that lives on top is blocking all the others. So what we need to do is determine which character is on top. I always work on my way down. So this first one, number 4, and we just crop over to there. Boom, he's soloed, so let's unsolo him. And look, there's another Rick. And we go down to his frame, his track frame, and then we crop him over. And woo, now there's 3. And finally, we crop number 3. And crop him over just a little bit, and look. There's the 4th guy. Now I don't need to crop the 4th one because he's at the bottom of the layer. If you think of it like a stack of pancakes, you get 4 pancakes. I can see the top pancake if I'm looking straight down, but I can't see the bottom 3. But if I slice 3/4 of the top pancake, now I can see the pancake below. And if I slice half of that pancake, now I can see the first pancake, the second pancake, and then the third pancake. And if I take the third pancake and I slice 1/4 of it, the bottom pancake is still intact, and 1/4 of it's visible. So first pancake, second pancake, third pancake, fourth. And that's basically what we've done here. I'll blow it up so you can see it, and we'll go ahead and play that. And that's how the sausage is made. 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 And that's how the sausage is made.
Got a little carried away with the sausage making. But that's the anatomy of a scene, from storyboarding and scripting to location to blocking and, of course, shooting and compositing. Okay, let's take a few seconds to talk about the equipment. The camera was a Canon Rebel T7i DSLR camera, very nice camera. The lens was a EFS standard zoom Canon compatible lens. I think it was 15 to 85 millimeter. I didn't have any lighting enhancement. I had to go strictly with ambient light, which reduced my window of filming to just a few hours at the end of the day as the sun was going down and before it was gone completely, to reduce the shadows, because the way that the shots are composited, the same scene is shot 4 or 5 times to include all the characters, and then when they're put together in the computer, the lighting has to match. I was able to do some at shooting with the ISO, and then later in the software with the input and output levels, and I got to match pretty good. The software that was used was the Vegas Movie Maker 14, straight out of the box. Seems like a great program. I haven't really had any experience with anything else, so I don't know what I don't know. Other than that, that's what I had, that's about what I went with, and I had a great time. So now let's take a look at some of the actual shots and some behind the scenes of filming of Hide and Seek.
So here we are. This is the discussion scene. If you remember, 4 Ricks are standing talking about the quarantine and how boring it has been. Just after Rick number 1 discovers them hiding.
Yeah, I know.
As you can tell, I didn't always get my lines right.
Yeah, quarantine's getting a little dull.
I don't think I actually
I mean,
did
we binged everything we're
one
watching. Color
take of any
coordinated
shot.
We've even
But there was so much going on. You know, eye lines, remembering the lines,
and action.
am I in the right spot? Here's where R4 shows up. This is some of his raw footage. When he's surprised to hear that the other 3 had toilet paper.
What? You guys have toilet paper?
Notice eye line again, looking up the hill. Here's R1. He's like, wow, of course we have toilet paper. You know, what'd you use? And then I grabbed some leaves, sort of. I don't know why I sniffed it. It seemed that was improv. Anyway, here's the insert for that scene when he first comes through the trees.
Action.
I'm looking at a rickety stack of bins with a mannequin torso holding my shirt for depth.
What's up with
And this will be the reverse of that coming up, I think. Yeah. And then for this shot, this is the composite for the more depth. You know, just the pant leg and shirt, and then I shoot my number 4 character again, and then composite the 2 together, and that's the final result. Pretty cool. And here's the final scene I'll put together, or part of it.
Yeah.
As you can see. So basically that process is repeated 4 times. Each individual character
we binged
did their
everything we're
thing.
watching. Color coordinator closet. We've even
So I'm learning how to do this too. You know, it came out really good, but I know I can do even better.
Paper? Sure. What have you been using?
Especially in the
That's one of
acting
my
department. I
issues,
think
though.
the acting suffered a little bit.
Disappearing too.
So,
It's a real magazine. Look it up.
yeah. Okay, so here we go with the militia. Rick,
Was charging
he's
down
in his
the field
militia
by the
uniform, just came through town. So you notice coming up in a second here, there's some deer that cross behind me. They run across the field. Here he comes. There's one and the one right behind him. Coming up somewhere. There he is. Boom. I tried really hard to incorporate that in, but since the way I crop it, I'm only using the center for this character. The deer would have just appeared out of nowhere and then disappeared. I tried to work some tricks, but it just didn't work. It would have been cool though. Okay, so here I am. This is the behind the scenes with my tubs. I got my tools, my clothes. Look, there's my script box,
My script box,
storyboard,
storyboards,
yeah, wardrobe.
wardrobe department, cue card.
This scene is the militia Rick running from the time portal.
Okay.
And there I am, just making sure that the collar's straight. You know,
Sure.
didn't have any continuity director on set or any hair and makeup people.
Different costume.
So here's the shot, the insert when I peer around the tree, right before the boys fly through the time portal. And I think we have another angle of this. Yeah, this is from a different angle. From the documentary, the B Team, which is just a GoPro on the ground. Anyway, that's that insert.
Checking the gate.
Here's another insert from the time
We
portal
were doing an
sequence.
over-the-shoulder shot. Oh, shit. Not like that, we're not.
Yeah.
So you
Same
get an
thing.
idea how
For depth,
it's going to look.
for getting the focus, using a plaid shirt Don't want to use autofocus on the camera because it'll move. As soon as you move, it moves and it screws the whole shot up. This technique only works if the camera is absolutely still. So every shot, when you crop it, the background matches. If it moves at all, focus changes, light. It's very challenging.
One man show. One man show.
Yeah, that's right. One man production. There I am saying my lines.
You sure about this?
Beautiful woods, though.
Sure about this? Sure about this?
That's some good acting right there. Suck it in.
You sure about this?
Yeah. Okay, and here's the rest of the Ricks just running into the time portal. I threw this in just so you can, you see how the light changed. I had to manipulate.
Alrighty.
I mean, light was terrible. I had to manipulate that computer a lot to put it all together. But here's all the running. Of course, I added the time portal special effect and all that stuff. All right, so let's see the whole scene together.
Alrighty, here we go. Geronimo!
This is my first attempt at any real special effects.
Sure
I
about
think it came out pretty good.
No.
There's the over-the-shoulder mannequin scene.
There's
And
nothing.
then, boom, and one more to go. As you can tell, I had to do a lot of treatment to it. And there's appearing. It came out good, you really filtered it. I really wanted to, one of my experiments was to try to make it look cinematic. So you can see in the raw footage, it was just a video camera or an iPhone or whatever. So I really wanted to make it look cinematic, so I went with color correction, and I go on the internet and go, how do they make it look like that? Oh. Okay, so we did do a little bit of green screen, and not much, but the fake news section at the end, the dream sequence, and the big check, where all 8 octuplets are holding the giant lotto check. Let's take a look at some of that now. Here we have the screenshots that I used to make the big check. So essentially I set up the green panel that would become the check, and I changed 8 times and took screenshots and put that all together as a one image, and here it is. Yeah. Pretty cool. There's the dream sequence. So I don't have a very large green screen area, so they're all individuals. Of course they'd have to be because it's all me. Here I am at the bow of the boat. These two had hats. This guy didn't have a hat, so I figured I needed to make wind, so I had a fan set up to be my model pose. And here's a little segment from the fake news. So that's it. That's the green screen. In other news, whoa! I see you. And thanks for hanging out for the bonus features. We're almost done. You can probably tell on some of those clips, the audio, the sound was not ideal. A lot of times the characters were far away from the camera. The ambient noise was uncontrollable. The general noise floor was just not acceptable. So all of the sound was redone. All the dialogue, of course, and then all the Foley, or all the ambient, the leaves, the wind, the birds, I added all that in later. In fact, there's even a Wilhelm scream in there too, for those of you who know what that is. When the time-traveling Rick first appears and you hear the explosion and everyone drops to the deck, you hear a Wilhelm scream thrown in there, which I think is kind of cool. And we'll look at the sound design in a minute. But first, let's look at some of the examples of the additional dialogue recording, or the entire dialogue recording. All right, we're going to do a little additional dialogue recording. or in this case, all the dialogue recording. Can you hear me in there? Yep. All right, does it sound good? Sounds great. Okay, one-man show. This is the hideout scene. And 1, 2. Let's be cool, just in case of that buttercup theory. You mean the butterfly effect? Whatever. I just don't want to jinx the $600 million jackpot. Wait. No, let's take that again. Okay. Whatever you say, Rick. All right. And 1, 2. Let's be cool, just in case of that buttercup theory. You mean the butterfly effect? Whatever. I just don't want to jinx the $600 million jackpot. Wait. What about the other us's in this timeline? There are 8 of us here now. Banjo balls! First, stop trying to make that a catchphrase. Second, we can kill him. No, you donkey lumps. We need to let him in on it. Now who's trying to start a catchphrase? Although it's a good one. Yeah, nailed it. We got it. Great. Moving on. And again, as I mentioned, the sound was recorded originally and then removed and then replaced back. Let's look at a little bit of the sound design. In the background you can see I have the scene where time traveling Rick enters from the time portal, confused. Now the scene isn't much without sound. There's no dialogue, so let's just go through a little bit of the sound design and how this works. We're going to start with his breathing, because he just came from a battlefield. He was, getting shot at. Now he's running in some strange place through a horrible experience. So of course his breathing and heart rate are going to be up. So there's his breathing. And he's got footsteps. Through the leaves. Now, there's not quite enough of them, so we're going to add a few more. Just running. Then we're going to add this. Kind of leaves rustling. And now we'll add the music. Alright, and let's hear it. Let's fade it in slowly and see where we like it to sit. And that's how the sausage is made. What the hell? Oh man, my head. What was that? Everybody alright? It was loud. Who's this? Okay, we're almost to the finish line, and I appreciate you hanging out. And hopefully you learned a little bit maybe and were entertained. I certainly have enjoyed going back through the process myself. The last thing we're going to speak about is the music. Now the movie is just over 9 minutes, so that's not entirely long enough for a whole bunch of music, but there are 3 compositions of mine that are in there, and then there are 3 little film scoring elements that I composed to sort of enhance or to accentuate the mood of the scene. The first song is called Slunkin' Punkin'. It's a little funky bass, and of course they're all bass driven because I play the bass. That opens the movie. There's a little kind of frenetic happy ditty in the middle when they're dreaming about winning the lottery, and then of course Undefeated is the name of the composition that the end credits roll over. Now the other pieces are a little string thing that is sort of a very ironic piece. It sets up a very tense and impending doom sort of atmosphere over a game of hide and seek, which is kind of funny. The other one is a sort of a panic
feeling when he just ran through the time portal and he's into the future, he doesn't know what's happening. And then the little bit when he recounts his story, there's sort of a sentimental, marchy sort of ditty that should evoke images of battle from long ago. Anyway, let's take a look at the construction of one of those film scoring pieces. Frolic in the Woods.
Okay, so creating the music for the movie was fun, sort of icing on the cake. First, I choose the scene I'm going to score. There were only 3 that I chose. So this is the first, the opening number where the boys are hiding and seeking. I wanted to create an element of irony and having it very tense and impending doom when it's really just a game of hide and seek. You know, designate the sections of the script or the scene that I want to accentuate. Then I sort of improv it a little bit with the monitor. And once I've got it pretty much worked out, I take it to the computer and get more compositional. Here we are starting out with the contrabass. We add in some violin, then some teeter-totter, a little uneasiness with a second violin. We got the bells with the tolling for the doom ahead, little melodic element, and then we sort of bring it all together. I'll put all the elements in here. See, this is how it goes along with the scene, and let's just take a look and see how it all worked out. He's really getting concerned now. Keep your eye. Yep, you can see the violin, just single notes there, creating a little suspense. And we cut back. Oh, there he is. He's coming around the corner. Oh my goodness, it's the fin in the ocean. They're about to be found. It's all over. Here comes trouble. And that's it.
What were some of the memorable moments from the shoot? Well, actually, I was rehearsing a scene where I had to sit on a pile of leaves against this wall. And while doing my run-through, a stick had moved and rubbed against my leg. I thought I'd been bitten by a snake, and I squealed like a little girl. Nearly jumped right out of my pants. We actually had to shut down the production for the rest of the day. Yeah, and that was before we'd gotten our can of Coke. Yes, your producer actually sent us a clip. Let's take a look.
Scared. I was sitting on a snake. Well, now you know how the sausage was made, and it was a blast. A great use of quarantine time. It was creative. It was productive. I learned a lot about film editing. There was a lot of math involved, a lot of planning, a lot of 17-hour nights, 53 costume changes, and apparently I lost 15 pounds running around the woods for 3 weeks. It was really, really great, and I can't wait to do the next one. So, from all the Ricks, I want to say,
Thanks for watching the movie.
And of course, we can't forget the crew. What would we do without you?
that's a wrap.
Can we go? Or
Right.
I don't know. I kind of dig his groove, man. I'm kind of getting into it.